until last week, the concept of the Uyghurs and the suffering they were having in China was just a concept to me until I went and saw the film Static and Noise. And at that meeting, I met Mehmet. The Uyghur community, or the Uyghur community, has been under kind of incredible control by the Chinese government for years. And here at Ashfield, I've been watching it closely until I went to see this movie called Static and Noise, which brought it all to life. And I thought, what I've got to do is interview Mehmet and talk about what's going on there, because most of us don't know. Mehmet, welcome.
Thank you kindly, Bill. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, we've got to tell the story. Now, who are the Uyghur people?
Uyghur people are the natural inhabitants of Eastern Turkestan, which is now called Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region by China. Xinjiang in the Chinese language means new frontier. It has been an independent country. Uyghur people have been living in that part of the world for thousands of years, and in 1949 it was taken under the control of Chinese communist regime, and its name was changed into Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region in 1956. And since then, the communist ideology has been in place in that part of the world.
Uyghur people, they are Muslim, are they?
Yes, Uyghur people are maybe, most majority are Muslims, yes, that's right.
And I've noticed in the film it shows how family-oriented they are.
Yeah, Uyghur people are extremely family-oriented. They are very guest-loving people. They have a lot of gatherings, social life. Even in diaspora, you can see their activities. Yeah.
So how many of them are there in that province in China?
According to the Chinese official information, it's 12 million or so.
12
but
million.
According to the people in diaspora, the population is estimated to be about 25 million.
25 million people.
Because it's 1.8 million square kilometers of land, huge land.
And they came from an area near Turkey, is that right?
No, not necessarily. Actually, the people in Turkey originated from Central Asia. Uyghurs did not originate from Turkey. It is the vice versa. So, as I mentioned earlier, Uyghur people have been inhabiting that part of the world for thousands of years. In some sources it is 4,000 years, some sources say 6,400 years. So it's a very long history.
And you've been living in peace with the Chinese people?
Actually, the land has been inhabited by the Uyghur people only until 1870s. So until that time, there was no Chinese at all. So from then onwards, the trickle of Chinese people started settling in that part of the world. But after the communism, after 1949, there has been mass migration of the Chinese people. As a result of that, you can see maybe half of the population, about 40% of the population is now Chinese.
So was that migration deliberate, or did it just happen?
It didn't happen. It did happen deliberately. It is aimed to make the population of Uyghur people comparatively less and take over the whole land by Chinese government.
So this has been kind of a policy of the Communist Party since 1949?
Not necessarily. It has been before that as well. Before it was communism, but after 1949, it has become extensively much. Especially there was cultural revolution between 1966 and 1976.
Yes.
But regardless, since 1949, since the establishment of communism, there has been mass migration, and the situation has gone much worse since 2017.
And what happened during that time in the 60s when there was all that upheaval in China? Did that affect you?
Look, during that time, until I should say 2017, I mean, the Chinese and Uyghur people were reasonably like working together, coexisted, were able to coexist, and there was some relative, even though not genuine autonomy, there was some relative level of autonomy, and the Uyghur people were able to use their language, practice their religion, and had some reasonable employment opportunities, even though it was not totally like equal to Chinese, it was reasonable.
So what happened then, in 2017 or around then?
That's right. In 2017, Chinese Communist Party all of a sudden surprised and shocked the whole world. There was a kind of outright attack to the whole population. Even the United States was saying that when they were trying to like work with China, they were planning to they were hoping that China will slowly get rid of communism and accept democracy and all that, but they failed, and they regret that it was a policy.
So was the Chinese government afraid of Islamic fundamentalism or Islamic uprising?
I think there is no way in East Turkestan people can uprise, because every single movement of the people is under control by China, and their religion, language, economy, everything is under the control of Chinese Communist Party. As a result of that, they have, since 2017, they banned their language, cultural practices.
So your language is banned?
Yes, exactly. Now it is banned altogether. Until 2004, there was some level of like bilingual education. There was like primary schools and all that, but after that, they initiated a policy called bilingual education in 2004. That would mean only language classes, like 3 or 4 hours per week. And that is also gotten rid of at the moment. And religion is totally banned, thousands of mosques destroyed, and cemeteries destroyed, cultural...
So what has happened to the mullahs, the leaders of the Islamic communities?
Okay, they in the forefront of this attack by the Chinese government, there was the intellectuals, business people, as you mentioned, the religious people, and the people with strong cultural identity. Those were the main targets, and they were placed in concentration camps and forcefully indoctrinated. There were a lot of killings, torture, and now China says it was not concentration camps, it was re-education camps. Now they say those people are graduated from those schools.
And where are they now they've graduated?
Exactly.
Where are they?
That's a very good question. We don't know. If they have graduated, where are they?
So is it like the police or the military just turn up, bang on the door, come in, knock the door down and take people away? Is that what happens?
Normally, we found out that those things usually happen at nights.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, people are at home. All of a sudden, the door is knocked. Police comes and takes you away. As a result of that, people were actually prepared. So they prepared their stuff so that if somebody comes, they were ready to take a few of their stuff with them. So, yeah.
And are women allowed to wear the hijab in the province now?
As I mentioned earlier, religious practices have been banned altogether. As a result of that, hijab or any religious material, books, Quran, or any books that you can learn religion from, or this prayer mat or anything is banned. So as a result of that, and in fact, women and men are forced to drink alcohol, which that's also a practice, and forced to eat pork and all that. So because Chinese government sees Islam as a viral illness to be cured. So, and as a result, they are now initiating a policy like Sinicization of Islam. So they are creating a different type of Islam in China for Uyghur people.
So what sorts of torture goes on?
Torture, according to the information, there is a lot of killings, there is torture like deprivation of food, sleep, and they call it tiger chair, forcing people in sit in tiger chairs for long periods of
What's
time.
a tiger chair?
Tiger chair, it looks like they are shackling the people's arms and legs on a chair and a table and forcing them to stay in that position for long periods of time.
And how many people do you estimate are in these camps at the moment?
Okay, according to the information leaked to outside world, about 1.8 to 3 million people have been placed in concentration camps. According to the Uyghur sources, they estimate it is much more than that, because people, it's not that people are locked there and they never come out. Some people go in, maybe 2 years later they are released, but they are also continuously monitored, and more people are taken into concentration
So how are
camps.
they monitored?
They are monitored, for example, maybe you have heard, about 1 million Chinese Communist Party officials are placed in the homes of Uyghur people.
In the homes?
In the homes. So
what do they do in the homes?
So they live with you, they eat with you, they sleep with you.
Sleep with you? What do you
Yes.
mean?
So they sleep in the same home, and that is the situation.
Do they sleep in the same bed or in the same room or in the...
That some people also say that that is also forcefully something that was happening. So in other words, they are monitoring you right in your family.
So they're almost under your fingernails?
Exactly. So on top of that, there are surveillance cameras all over the place, and also facial recognition cameras. So when you are walking outside, they are able to see where you are going, what you are doing. So you are under 24 hours of surveillance, and they know exactly your every move during the day.
And how many Uyghurs have migrated, have moved away or have escaped?
Okay, that's a good question. Now, until 2017, there was reasonable number of people living that part of the world, and most of those people became refugees in other parts of the world, in other countries.
How many?
Okay, maybe. Look, in diaspora, the most number of people, Uyghur people, are in Kazakhstan. Close to 1 million. Secondly, in Kyrgyzstan. Thirdly, in Turkey. Maybe we estimate that there are about 80,000 Uyghur people. Other than that...
In America?
Yes. United States, Canada, Germany, Sweden, Netherlands, Australia.
How many in Australia?
They also accept a reasonable number of Uyghur people. In Australia, we estimate that there are about 4,000 Uyghur people. Out of those, about 800 of them live in Sydney, about close to that number in Melbourne. The biggest number of people from Uyghur community live in Adelaide, and the remaining part is in other parts of like Australia, such as Perth and Queensland.
So do you run Uyghur schools for young children?
Yes, we do. We have Uyghur language schools in Melbourne, Adelaide, and Sydney. There are 70 students, Uyghur students, who are attending language schools on Sundays, today for example. So in those schools, the main issue is to keep the language alive. In diaspora. So that is the main goal.
Because the diaspora can hold on to it and then migrate it back if things get better.
Yes, of course. We hope that the world community, international community know about what is going on in that part of the world. And the policies of China is really very intolerant. The population of the Uyghur people is about 1% of the total population, but they are not allowed to live according to their language, culture, and religious practices. And this level of intolerance is a danger to every community, because there are about 56 ethnic communities in China. Most of them are already assimilated into Chinese culture. The main ones that are remaining are Uyghurs, Tibetans, and Inner Mongolians, and they are now in danger too.
So how hard is it to tell the world what's going on? Are you able to get the stories out?
Unfortunately, there has been a lot of efforts by the United Nations Human Rights Commission to travel to that part of the world to find things, or some countries tried to try that one, but unfortunately China usually they invite the people or the people from governments that are supportive of Chinese policies. They invite delegations and they take them to places that are pre-organized, and they show to the world that everything is good, everything is really bright, and East Turkestan and Uyghur people are enjoying their lives, which is totally untrue.
Is it hard to get the media interested in what's going on?
It is not hard, it is impossible.
Tell me, how's it impossible?
Because there's no way you can go to China and say, look, I want to interview people and all that.
No.
And no one will come to you, will talk to you to be interviewed, because if they do, after you leave, they will be in big trouble. And in relation to information leaking outside, the main source was, I should say that that is important, witnesses. Trickle of number of people who were in concentration camps were able to make to the outside world. They were either citizens of other countries or their family members were citizens of other countries. So there's like only very low number of people who were able to make to the outside world. Plus, I should mention this as well, there's official government documents that were leaked to the outside world. They are the most important source of information.
So would organisations like the CNN and BBC and international newspapers, do they tell the story very often?
Yes, they do. Luckily, those stories have been placed in the international media reasonably well, and actually the governments are also interested, and so far, for example, 11 countries, their parliaments recognize the treatment of the Uyghur people by China as genocide.
Which part? Name some of the countries who have done it.
United States, England, France, Netherlands, for example.
Australia?
Australia, no. We are trying for that to happen, but Australia is probably is not willing so far to do that. We are trying to establish an Uyghur friendship group in the parliament, and if that happens, we'll be happy.
That's a good idea. The people in the diaspora, do they all contact one another and talk to one another across the world?
In relation to that one, as you know, there is social media these days, and as a result of that, there's a lot of interaction among the people, Uyghur people in diaspora. But there's social interaction, but there's also a lot of messages and all that placed in, shared in international media that create really problem within the community rather than.
So which country is your strongest ally?
Look, on the paper and according to what is happening, it seems United States is the strongest ally because they, U.S. government has passed two important acts, for example, Uyghur Human Rights Protection Act and Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. Now, but those issues, those laws, or the recognition of genocide by 11 countries, are they creating any tangible outcome for the Uyghur people in East Turkestan? My answer is no to that one. So, for example, as I mentioned, there are 11 countries, parliaments did recognize as genocide, but the governments are not taking any tangible action. So it is a conflict, in my opinion. Your parliament, a country's government recognizes that as a genocide, but the government does not take action. So that is a conflict, in my opinion.
So finally, Mehmet, do you have any hope for your people for the future?
That's a very good question, Bill. I came here because I have high hopes. As long as people like you and me exist, and other people who are internationally bringing this issue to the forefront, we always have hope.
God bless you, mate. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you kindly. Thank you, Bill. Thanks again for inviting me.